I watch the news, follow the news on a daily basis, and I just shake my head on all of these accidents and deaths, since we're talking about this right now, the people that aren't buckling up. Personally, I can't understand it, but I mean, you guys are seeing that probably daily, and what is going on there?
And, we can't get in a car and force somebody to wear their seatbelt. Obviously, if they're caught not wearing their seatbelt, they can get stopped, they can get ticketed. It's a $135 fine, and I think most people can find a different place to spend $135 than donating it to the state of Iowa on a fine or getting into a car crash. Because right now, statewide, 52% of our fatalities are unbuckled. So when we're looking at a statewide compliance rating of over 90%, when we do our step surveys, like if we have a trooper or a deputy or one of the officers sitting on a street corner counting how many people are driving by with seatbelts, or when we send out surveys to people seeing who's buckling up, that typically ends in the 90% range of people are buckling up. But when we're responding to these traffic crashes, 52% are not wearing seatbelts. That means either that small portion who are not wearing seatbelts are causing the problems on our highways, or people are not buckling up when it's important to be buckled in.
My car will drive me crazy if I don't buckle it. Are people just buckling and sitting on the belt?
No, actually there are, well, that can be one thing here. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No.
There are different ways that people tend to get around that. They can wear it behind their belt or behind their back. They wear it under their arm, which is improper use. But there are also different ways where they can find ways to bypass that alert system.
Some people don't think seatbelt saves lives. We can have them come to an accident and see what we see of seeing a fatality, and then the one thing in law enforcement I hate is going to a family and tell them their loved one. There's ones that stick in my mind, and then they'll never go away, of telling a family that their 16-year-old son was killed in a car accident, and if he would have had a seatbelt on, he'd still be alive today. You just don't forget that. Right. Everybody, they think cops are cold, but that's the worst thing we hate. Everybody hates doing that.
And I just don't understand the seatbelt issue. The drivers now have grown up having to wear it. I mean, when we were
I think I was 17 when it came.
It started with us, but now my children are grown and they have worn their seatbelt their entire lives. So I don't understand why, other than you can't tell me to do it. I just.
But I think that's where it starts, is mom and dad.
Yes.
Mom and dad saying, "Put your seatbelt on," and
when they see mom and dad not buckling up, they're less likely to buckle up. When they see mom and dad behind the wheel on a phone constantly, they're going to bring in those same habits. When they're constantly seeing their parents tailgating people, speeding, they're going to pick up those bad habits, unfortunately.
Are you seeing it in town also, people not wearing their belts?
Yeah, there's some kind of misunderstanding that if they don't go over a certain speed limit that they don't have to wear their seatbelt. That's only true for like postal carriers, someone in that line of business, where they're constantly in and out of their vehicle, and it's over 25. I think they can't go over 25. But yeah, there's a lot of people in town that don't, because they think they're not going fast enough to really do any damage, but it doesn't really take that much.
Are you seeing injuries in town that could have been prevented or lessened because of a seatbelt?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be moving very fast. I mean, your car stops, but your body doesn't, and everything in it keeps going forward, or sideways, or wherever they're going.
A good example of this is a crash that we covered involving a semi taking a curve at a fairly low speed, but the semi tipped over, rolled over, and the driver who was not wearing a seatbelt was killed because he was not buckled in at the time of the crash. And looking at those types of crashes, we've been to these crashes involving semis, and the fact that it was a lower speed, he should have survived that crash. Just the fact he didn't have a belt on, that's what caused him to get killed in that crash due to the severity of his injuries. And there are so many times where people think that maybe I'll put that belt on right before a crash, and it doesn't work that way, because your focus when you try to avoid a crash is going to be evasive maneuvers, and both hands are going to start gripping that wheel. So you're going to have a death grip on that steering wheel, try to avoid the crash. At no point you're going to have time to reach behind you, try to find that buckle, and get it belted in before. It's just not going to happen.
One more thought on this topic. Are we seeing a certain age group abusing this more than another, or is it across the board?
I think it's across the board. the older group, meaning older than all of us, never wore it before, so why are we wearing it now? We've survived this long. The young children, young adults driving are invincible. That's what I believe their mindset is. It'll never happen to us. And even if it does, we're young, it won't hurt as bad. And then there's that kind of in the middle that just don't wear it because they don't want to.
Because of losses, I have to.
Right.
Another one we see kind of frequently in town is kids not having their, like small children and infants not having proper car seats or just jumping around in the back of the car. And their parents not buckle them in, and they think they're in town, it's safe too. But that's the one that bothers most of the guys on the PD. Is the children one that is the worst.